Hey guys, Leon here from West Coast Cycles. Now you may have seen our tutorial the other day on tyre pressures. So following up from that, we decided to do another one today on changing a tube when you get a flat on the road. And it's actually one of the questions we get a lot in the shop when people come in and say they've struggled to get the tyre seated back onto the rim when they've got the flat tyre or they've got multiple flat tyres. So we're going to talk about that today and go through the process of changing a flat. So we're going to start at the point where we've already got the flat, the tube out that had the damage done to it that caused the flat. So now the first thing we're going to do when we're on the side of the road, we've probably got 8 of our mates standing there watching you at this point. We're just going to run our fingers through the tyre, tubes out, and we're going to see if we can find that little thing that caused the flat tyre in the first place. And we'll rub it all the way around, and we're hoping to feel something sharp with our fingers. And then when we do, and you'll often find it there'll be a little bit of metal or a little bit of glass or something like that stuck in, and you can just sort of work that out with your thumbnail or something. If you don't find anything in the tyre at all, you always then have a double check on the rim. At this point, it might be worth taking the tyre off the rim, going in and just checking there's not a spoke poking through or anything like that. If you haven't found anything, then there's every chance that whatever punctured the tyre went in and went out at the same time. So, but that's important because if you don't do that, you skip that step, you're potentially going to end up with just another puncture just down the road because that little sharp bit of shard in there is caused another puncture. So never forget that step in this process. So get the old tube out, run your fingers around, see if there's anything in there that caused the problem. If you can't find anything, then we can go to the next step, which is putting the new tube back in. To do that then, we grab our tube out of our back pocket or saddlebag. Now the first thing I do is put a little bit of air in it, and you could put a pump on the end of this. I'm just going to blow it up a little bit with my mouth, just to get a bit of air in it. We just want to get a bit of shape so that when we put it in, it's a bit easier and we don't get it twisted. There we go, just a little bit of air. As I said, just a little bit of shape so we know we're getting it in there. All right, so now we'll go and find that hole and we'll put that tube back in there. And we're just going to feed it around. Make sure she's not twisting up anywhere. I'm just poking it in there with my fingers as I go. This bit's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just trying to get it in there. Right, once we've got that, now we need to get the other side of the tyre back on, the other bead, and this is where sometimes it gets tricky for people. I really suggest not using tyre levers at this point for various reasons, because you can really put some pressure on some of those carbon rims out there with a tyre lever, and you wouldn't want to do any damage. Also, you can definitely end up pinching your tube and you end up with another puncture before you've even got the tyre pumped up. So what we're going to do is we're going to start, we always work away opposite the valve. So the valve's going to stay down at the floor, and I'm going to start at the top here, and I'm just going to be pinching this in to get it on the bead and just working my way around. I'm only going to get so far originally before the tyre says it doesn't want to go any further at the moment. You normally get about 70% of it on. So right now I've got to about there. I'm there and then, I've got that last bit to go. I'll probably get a little bit more in. There we go. Now that last bit, really hard to get on, as you can see there. If I really tried, I might get that over like it is. But the easy way then is put that down there on your feet, pinch the tyre. In fact, what you can do at this stage is actually let that air out. You don't need that air in there anymore. So I'm gonna let that air out, make it a bit easier again. Pinch that tyre, and as you're pinching it, push it towards the ground. So you're pinching it into the middle of the rim where it's shallowest, and we're trying to gain a little bit of extra, and I'm pushing towards the ground at the same time as I'm pinching into the middle. And then we'll find by the time I get down here, I should have got an extra couple of millimeters, and it just pops over like that. And then no levers, tubes in, no risk of pinching the tube. And then at this point then we'd obviously be able to pump it up with our little hand pump, our CO2, or these are the best things, these little mini E-pumps sit in the back pocket really nicely at the jersey, and pump up a tyre like this to 80 psi in probably about 20 to 25 seconds. So that's it, that's done. That's a tyre or a tube replaced and put back in and ready to be pumped up onto the road. So, but any questions about any of those, guys, or if you want an in-store demonstration, feel free to come in and we'll run you through all that again. And we can talk about any other issues you have on the road with your bike. Thank you, guys. See ya.